Let's get rolling on some exciting stuff. Let's see if we can improve on the results we obtained when we ran the practice data in video 3. You are still George and Helen. Remember, we ran the practice data in the last video and we have the results of that as our baseline. Go to the comparisons sheet and you will see the baseline that we established in the last video. Now go back to the data entry sheet. Assuming that you have maxed out on loan consolidation and single upfront payments, there are only two things you can control. The amount you can afford to pay each month. This has already been determined from your careful budgeting. The minimum amount you are paying on your loans. This could be changed by negotiating with your lenders or by altering the amounts you have for various reasons set as a minimum payment. Assume for the moment that you cannot increase the monthly amount you can afford to pay and cannot add additional funds at a future date. Let's have a look at how you might approach changing your minimum payments in order to make the money you're paying on your loans work more efficiently. As we have seen, for your loan data, the baseline run has demonstrated that the size of the interest rate is the primary driving factor in determining how much interest you will pay. That is analysis option 1. If, irrespective of the loan balances, you could lower the monthly payments on some of the loans with the lowest interest rates, the program would automatically shift the extra funds to the higher interest rate loans. This might be beneficial. Let's investigate that possibility. Now click the Add Additional Loan Data button. This will bring up information that you have recorded about the various loans. Remember, the loans have been arranged by interest rate from highest to lowest. So the lowest interest rate loans will be on the right of the screen. To make it easier to look at the low interest rate loans, click anywhere on the page and use the keypad or mouse to move the lower interest rate loans closer to the row labels on the left-hand side of the worksheet. To make it easier to correlate, this makes it easier to correlate information in the additional loan data user form with the actual loan that you're working on. Move the additional loan data user form adjacent to the lower interest rate loans. In the additional loan data dialog box, tab over to Loan 20 and select the Loan 20 tab. This, of course, will be the loan with the lowest interest rate. As you can see, the rate is 3.4%. George, reading from the additional loan data for Loan 20, you see your brother is not concerned about the length of time for loan payback. So, for now, let's see what would happen if you reduce the monthly payment to your brother from $20 to $0. When you run the analysis because of accumulating interest, the balance of Loan 20 will grow until the program gets around to assigning the excess payment funds to this loan. So enter 0 for the current minimum payment. Now let's look at Loan 19. Pause the video and take a moment to read what you have said about Loan 19. Okay, you're back. The situation is similar to what we saw for Loan 20. So let's set this payment value to 0 as well. And this is a pretty sizable loan, over $16,000. Now select loan 18. And let's tab over to 18. Pause the video to read your note. Okay, you're back. In spite of the fact that this is a rather large loan, it will be accumulating interest while you're paying off other loans. Let's take the chance and defer the payments and set the minimum payment to 0. So here we go. Scary to think about this loan getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we pay off the other loans. But hang on. Loan 17 is next. So on the additional loan data user form, we'll tab over to loan 17. We'll move that form over beside loan 17. This loan is almost paid off. No matter, let's reduce the payment to the current interest of $6. We can always check and see if they will allow for an interest-only payment for a while. And finally, let's look at loan 16. So let's tab to loan 16, select loan 16, and then let's move over right beside loan 16 so we have everything where we can see it. Pause the video and read the information recorded under loan 16 in the additional loan data dialog box. Okay, you're back. Note the true value for loan 16 indicating that the minimum payment is interest only. Even though it may upset Uncle Fred a bit, let's make the payment 0 and change the true value to false. We could keep going, but what we've done so far is pretty scary. So let's just stop and see what happens when we run this data. Close the additional loan data form. So you can see all the loans. Pull the loan data to the right. We have $47,000 of loans just sitting there accumulating interest while the other loans get paid off. Wow, as said before, this is really pretty scary. Now let's run the data and see what happens. Click the Analyze Your Data button. Click No to the Baseline Data Set message box. As we pointed out, you already have a baseline. The Best Option dialog box comes up. Note that distributing the excess to the loan with the highest rate remains the best option. Notice the total interest paid and the time for payoff. Click OK. Take note of the Worst Option data box. Starting with paying off the smallest loan first is still a really, really bad choice. Click OK. Now take note of your savings between the worst option and the best option and click OK. Click Yes to the View Data box. In order to bring us quickly to the comparison sheet, I have clicked Yes in the Add Explanation dialog box. I have added an explanation in the dialog box that comes up, and I have clicked OK to Done. Pause the video and do these 3 things. Okay, you're back. Hover over the Changes as comment to see the list of changes you have made from baseline and your explanation. Okay, you're back. Look at the change in interest column to see that the changes you have made have saved you $6,139.30. Wow, that's a significant savings. You actually made money by allowing those low interest rate loans to sit around and accumulate interest. Notice also that the payoff times for all loans were less, or in the case of loan 10 and 11, equal to the payoff times in the prior run. Now go to the interest data by approach sheet. For reference, I have copied the table from the baseline run. You will not have the copied table on your Debt Blaster. This will happen automatically in future versions of the Debt Blaster. I just moved a table that we will be needing in a minute up and out of the way. Check out the fact that every analysis approach did better. Some switched places, but they all did better. Pause the video and check out the results. You're back. Just for reference, I have also copied this table, and I will put it aside for future reference for our next run. What happened in this run makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would happen if all the minimum payments were zero? Not a real-life situation, but perhaps instructive. Let's give it a try. For analysis method 1, all the money goes toward the loan with the highest interest rate, while all of the others just sit around and accumulate interest. Now that's really super scary. Go back to the data entry sheet. Let's set all the minimum payments to zero. So we can do this by setting the minimum payment of loan 1 to zero and then dragging it over to all of the columns. So let's do this. There's 0. We'll enter that, and then we will select that cell, and then we'll just drag that cell to the right, and we'll make all these payments equal to 0. Select another cell so that everything is entered. And now I need to change a few of the trues to false. So let's go back and identify all of the trues and change them to false. Looks like I have them all. Okay, let's run it. Whoa, I missed loan 7. I needed to change it to false. So let's go to loan 7. Sure enough, I wrote some garbage in there. Okay, now let's run it. Click no so that this run will not be set as a baseline. Since it was our original data that we want to keep the first run as a baseline, I will quickly click through the other message boxes and go straight to the comparison sheet. I will not enter an explanation. I will click Done. Wow, look at the magnitude of your savings. $13,153.51. Less interest compared to the original baseline, and about $7,000 in savings compared to the second run. In addition, payoff of all debt happens more quickly except for loan 17. Each of the individual loans are paid off more quickly. I guess old Uncle Fred might need an extra box of Christmas chocolates or something to keep him happy. Pause the video for a few minutes and look over the results. Now you're back. Really amazing, isn't it? Now go to the interest data by approach. Now we have both tables that we can have a look at. Here is the last data run. Here's the baseline, and here is the second data run. All of the other methods performed much worse with this last data run than they did in the second run. You pay a huge price for going smallest to largest, $113,675.77 compared to $32,455.70 in the second run, and $29,494 in the baseline run. Method 1, excess to the highest rate, performed so much better. Of course, this might not be the case with everyone's data, so don't just assume that method 1 will always be your best bet. Do these results have any practical meaning? Yes, they do. For Helen and George, if they are going to use payoff method 1, excess to the highest rate, or the avalanche method, these results mean that they should get all of their minimum payments as low as possible. They should not put any arbitrary limits on themselves, like I feel like I must pay this loan off in 10 years because Uncle Fred says so, or because I can't stand to look at this large balance or whatever. They should be willing to negotiate with their lenders to get the lowest minimum required payments possible. They should not be afraid to ask for deferred payments. Can these results be generalized to other sets of loans? There's just no way to know. Just run your own data and see. Can these results be improved on? Quite possibly. You might pick some of the largest loans with the highest rates and give them a head start by making them interest only, or by adding a little payment that's higher than interest, and see what happens. Mess with it yourself and see what happens to get a feel for things. Now let's do one other thing. Go back to the data entry sheet. Let's assume that in 1 year you will have extended your emergency fund from 6 months to 8 months of cash, and at that time you want to pay an additional $50 per month on your loans. Let's see what that change alone would make. So click the Restore Practice Data button to remove all the changes we have made. Clicking the Restore Practice Data button allows you to compare just this change against our original baseline, which was the practice data. If you're not working with the practice data, you would click the Restore Your Baseline Data button and here. Now, under step 3, enter $3,050 in the first new total payment amount data input cell. This is because you want to increase your monthly payments by $50. Now enter 12, which will be 12 months from this run when you start paying this new total amount. Now run the data. I will click quickly through the message boxes and go to the comparison sheet. Remember to click No to the Change Baseline option. Hover over the Changes as Comment column and see that this accurately reflects our intent. Just paying $50 extra per month has saved you an additional $2,115.34. Fantastic. The results will be different with your data. Now it is time for you to enter your own data. I will walk you through the entry of a loan so you can get the feel for data entry. Go to the data entry sheet. Scroll to the top of the page. Select Clear Input Data Fields. Select the Add Additional Loan Data button. Pull the Add Additional Loan Data button over beside the cells for Loan 1. It is best to organize your loans, for example, by rate or by size. I will now type the name of the first loan in the appropriate place. For example, for Maximum Profit College Loan. In the Add Additional Loan Data user form box, enter some information like the loan number. So we could enter the loan number as, then we could use a Control Enter to move down a couple of lines. And we could enter the fact that deferred payment is allowed. And then we could hit Control Enter. We could hit the Control Enter. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. We could hit the Control Enter button and move down a couple of lines and enter the fact that the lender's required minimum payment is $400. So the RMP equals $400. Now enter $50,000 as the current balance and enter 26% for the annual rate and hit Enter. And you can see that immediately the current interest payment of $1,083.33 pops up. Next, enter $600 for the current minimum payment. This is a little bit higher than the lender's required minimum. So enter that in your information that you do not want to fall behind, so you have selected a $600 payment. You do not need to change the false column. Now you can move the additional loan data form over by one loan, and you can repeat and select loan 2, and then you can repeat the process. When you're done with that, you can click the Save Changes button, and then you can exit the additional loan data form. Let's assume that you have followed the same process for a few more loans, and that you are ready to enter the total amount that you can pay. So just enter $2,000 in that cell, and then assume that in 36 months, you'll be able to pay an additional $100. So enter 2,100 there and enter the start date for that as 36 months. Now you are ready to run the data. So after you have entered all of your loans and entered these various amounts, click the Analyze Your Data button and you're off and running. Give yourself some learning time and you will find the Debt Blaster is quick and easy to use. As your financial life changes, you can always rerun the Debt Blaster to explore your best payoff options. So share the Debt Blaster website with your friends. Double check your budgeting. Collect all your loan information. Take a deep breath and go for it.